Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Let's bring in Mo Egger from ESPN Cincinnati. And Mo, our poll question is, who is the best receiver in the NFL right now? Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, or other? You got some thoughts on that, my dog?
Well, I do, but first, can I ask some questions? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you 3 questions? Okay, number 1, was that your boat?
How about that?
You've asked that before. No.
Okay, I don't know. Secondly, are you broadcasting from like where you do your morning workout?
As a matter of fact, yes. Johnny O's Gymnasium. I worked out, went home, had a shower, came back. That's 2.
And then what is with that shirt? There's a lot going on with that shirt. Kansas City Chiefs colors, I would suppose. I don't know. That looks like I watched a lot of bad music videos in the 90s. I think you stole that from one of the sets. The answer is Justin Jefferson. I'm willing to say that Jamar Chase is in the conversation. But I think Justin Jefferson has often operated in an offense that's just it's asking him to do more in relation to the talent around him, asking him to do more in relation to the quarterbacks. Nothing against, the Kirk Cousins or whoever they've had in Minnesota. But I think Justin Jefferson owns that title. But it's a fun conversation to have. And it's a fun conversation to have about where the wide receiver market is going next. And that's obviously something we have been focused on a lot here in Cincinnati. I'm sorry if you love that show. I apologize, but there's a lot that hits you right in the eyes when you first look at it.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Now,
The Stars offered me box seats, luxury box suites for Game 7? I think it was Game 6. And I said, hey, Stanley Cup could get handed out tonight. I've always wanted to be in the building when the Stanley Cup gets handed out. And she said, we came down here for George Strait. We're going to George Strait.
how about that?
So I walked out of Cowboys Stadium, and I'm like, hey, who won the Stars game? Who won the Stars game? It's Dallas in 2000. No, the who, the what? And I'm like, this wouldn't have happened in Winnipeg. They know.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah, and rolling on a Wednesday. We're live on the Game Plus and ready to rock. I'm in the South Florida studio, as you can tell. Moose is in the Toronto, as you can tell by the smile on his face.
Yeah, I'm good, my man. I'm good. Good to be back. My days of the week are all messed up. When you work on the weekend, your days get all messed up. But you know what? Wednesday, midweek, it feels like a Monday or a Tuesday, but we're here.
My days are quite screwed up as well. And I tell you what, I'm 50 today, asking how I'm doing. We've got a NHL hockey here tonight. The Los Angeles Kings are in town to take on the Florida Panthers. I'm excited about that. So, that's always a good. So I had this treadmill at LA Fitness. And I don't know what's going on with the internet. If you may have to take over, it looks like it's choppy on my end, but I lost control of my bodily functions. My fingers started, it was not good. Hey, Moose, you take over. As they're with my computer here, you take over.
Okay. Well, we're going to get that figured out. Boys, you let me know if we got him in the next couple minutes or if we're just going to go to a break early and get him logged back into the show. Get that internet rerouted. But keep me posted. We will. Yeah. They said it just happened as we went live. So they're just working on Rod's internet issue. We'll get that squared away. He was on the treadmill. He told me about, I'll let him tell the story. Bodily fluids or bodily functions, we're just going to let him handle that for sure. But hey, welcome into the show. I got to pull up the YouTube chat here, see if I can pull up the YouTube chat and find out who's all in here this morning. But yeah, wow. Welcome to live television. Good to be back on a Wednesday. I think Rod's going to tally up the breakaway bets from last night in the NHL. There's that to get to. We're going to talk some NFL. I think we settled on a new poll question today. Poll question being, do you suffer from Chiefs fatigue? I think that's what we settled on. Do you suffer from Chiefs fatigue? Are you sick of the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl? Were you sick of the Patriots when they were winning? Were you sick of the Tampa Bay Lightning being in the Stanley Cup recently? Do you suffer from fatigue? Are we sick of the LA Dodgers? I think to an extent, a lot of people are. A lot of people are suffering from Chiefs fatigue. I think when we get the poll question results, I think it's going to be a resounding yes. People are sick of Chiefs fatigue, or people are suffering from Chiefs fatigue. And I think, which is kind of crazy, I think the majority, when we do the poll next week, because I know it'll be on Thursday or Friday of next week, who are you cheering for in the Super Bowl, or who do you think will win the Super Bowl? I think the majority will be on the side of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's my guess, because I think people are sick of the Chiefs. I understand why. I don't necessarily get it, if that makes sense. We get sick when sick of a team that continues to win all the time. We want to see them fall. We want somebody else to win. And I think the Chiefs right now, they're the big bad Chiefs. Even though I think Patrick Mahomes is pretty likable. I think Andy Reid is extremely likable. I think Travis Kelce is likable. Whether you're sick of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff or not, I think they're still pretty likable. I don't know that they have a lot of villains on that team, but the referee stuff with the controversy around penalties, and I think them just being so good and against teams that people really like Buffalo's got a big fan base now, and they're a likable team in Buffalo. Baltimore is building more likability all the time. Cincinnati, everybody was hoping they would have got into the playoffs, and they were a very likable team. For whatever reason, the Chiefs just don't have that. And now it's kind of Chiefs versus everybody. They've become kind of like the Michigan Wolverines of college football a year ago. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that. Any update on Rod, boys? Anything on? Okay, keep working on it. We'll keep rocking and rolling. I am going to pull up the YouTube though, and we're going to see if we can answer any of your questions. Again, I've been gone for the last 11 days, calling curling in Saskatchewan, which was awesome, by the way. Loved every second of it. It was great. And I just got back in late on Monday. So got to catch me up here. I've been gone. I've been out of the group, I feel like. Taking a look this morning. Jenna's watching, and she said from Southern California, Sabres with a couple exclamation marks, 2 hat tricks. Yeah, it was a great night. Tage Thompson, one of those. Tage Thompson with a hat trick last night, leading Buffalo. I think it was, what was it, a 7-2 win over the Boston Bruins last night. That was impressive. Yeah, really good game last night for Buffalo. The Calgary Flames lost last night to the Washington Capitals, although Alexander Ovechkin did not see the score sheet. I keep getting kicked out of the YouTube here just because I'm trying to move the poll question out of the way. There we go. Good night in the NHL. So Jenna's watching. Say good morning to Josh. Says, pleasure watching. You call the Tankard and Scotties this past week. Not the Scotties now. It's the Viterra Prairie Pinnacle. It's the Pinnacle. So thanks, Josh, though, for watching. Jeremy's watching. Says the Chiefs never made a Super Bowl for 50 years. Let's be real. Chiefs fans enjoy this. You know what? When the Chiefs were getting to the Super Bowl and having their early success, extremely, extremely likable. Extremely likable. This young Patrick Mahomes. Everybody loves Andy Reid. It was really exciting. But when you've won a couple, you're now in another Super Bowl, trying to win 3 in a row. It's easy to become unlikable because, you know, when you're good, I look at a lot of our viewers are CFL fans. It was the same way with, you know, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They were the lovable losers through the 90s. And then in that decade of decadence that we talk about in the 2000s, how great they were, the Jim Hobson era. And it was because they rode this likability from being a team that really struggled and never got the wins. And then when they did pile up wins, people felt really good for them. And they continued to feel good for them. And then it wasn't until, you know, Jim left and then the new stadium and the money and that you started to maybe see a little bit of hate coming from outside the province. I think for a while, people really, across the country fell in love with the team. And then you start changing the way you have a little swagger, you start changing the way you behave, all these things happen. And, we're seeing that a little bit with the Chiefs, although I don't necessarily see them with this arrogant swagger that I don't know that there's any, like, who are the villains with the Kansas City Chiefs? That part I haven't quite figured out yet. Good morning or good afternoon, Carlos. The Herm Edwards era wasn't that long in Kansas City. I love Herm Edwards. Big Herm Edwards fan. But you're right, it wasn't exactly the best era of Kansas City Chiefs football for sure. Who else is rocking here? Bomber Boys watching. Rod Squad and Moosaholics assemble. Yes, welcome to the program. And thanks for watching here. JJ Paterka was the other one who had the hat trick in the Buffalo Boston game last night. Wayne's watching in Victoria. Shane's watching, says Morning Moose. And Tony's watching in Alberta too. Said he voted yes for Chiefs fatigue, but not the team. Taylor Swift. Am I reading this right? You got Taylor Swift fatigue? I think that's what I'm reading. Taylor's watching,
that?
says Morning Moose. Liked watching curling, especially the last end with the last rock can get pretty intense. It can get pretty intense. Big time. You can get very intense. That's, if I can just drop in on curling for a second, and we're going to probably take an early break. You guys are going to get Rod back in, I think, here pretty quick. Yep. We'll get it where we can. The thing that was so great about curling is that I can sit here. I'm not having coffee today. I'm having a little protein shake. I had my coffee this morning. Little homemade peanut butter, banana, chocolate smoothie. The thing that's so great about curling is I get to just do this, with you guys. But instead, I'm doing it with my two analysts. We get to visit. We get to be relaxed. We drink coffee. A lot of it is watching too, and letting the players commentate, right? Because we have them all mic'd up. But what's still great about it and satisfies my broadcaster itch is when you get into those big shots and skip stones, you can bear in and call the action, and you still get the big moments and build the anticipation as the rock's coming down and they're sweeping a little harder. And are they going to get the double? They got one rock, and are they going to get the second one? And they just get it, and is it going to go out? You still get that. But a lot of it is relax and have fun and all the rest. And people are bringing you coffee up to the booth. And, that part I really love. It's this wild combination of talk show versus intense sports that I don't get anywhere else. You don't get it in hockey. You definitely don't get it in football. It is curling. And maybe you would get it in tennis, but not really, because it's a lot of there's a lot of watching in tennis. And then the moment, I've never called tennis. That's one on my bucket list. But curling, so unique, and it's going to be fun. A couple things that came down in the curling world, just because we don't talk about it a lot. The Scotties this year going to be in Thunder Bay, but in February. But next year, because of the Olympics, they're going to be earlier. And they're going to be in my backyard of Mississauga, 10 minutes away at the Paramount Center. That's going to be great. Hopefully going to make it down there, which is going to move my provincials earlier. So earlier in January, I'll be gone to Melville, Saskatchewan for the men's and women's provincials. And then the Scotties will be here. So really looking forward to that next year. Wayne says, I agree with you, Moose. I like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I can't identify the villain either. I can't either. I think it's a team thing. Is what I think. I think it's a team thing where they've just been so good that naturally when people are good for a long period of time, you just start to hate them. It's just the way it goes. People love the underdog. They do. And it's the same thing with bands and musicians. We love our underground music until they become mainstream and start selling a bunch of albums and start getting a bunch of streams and hosting award shows and playing the big concerts, and then we think they're a sellout, and then we don't like them as much. It's just the way that it goes. It it happens in all walks of life. Same with your favorite stores or coffee shops or clothing brands. We love them when they're local. And then when they start to expand, we like them a little bit less, right? David is watching, says, hey, Moose, hope you had a fantastic birthday. I had a tremendous birthday. To be honest, one of the best in a long, long time. I got home to Wynyard into Saskatchewan a few days early. So on the weekend, I got to go spend some time with my family, and we had a little impromptu birthday party there. So I got to hang out with my nephews, and they made me a nice birthday card. It's hanging on the wall. I would have brought it if I knew you were going to ask me, which was great. We had birthday cake, all the rest. And then on my actual birthday, I was working because I usually am. I'm usually in the arenas. I'm somewhere, and I was calling curling, like 12 hours of curling. But it was really great. Everybody kind of knew it was my birthday, so I got a lot of happy birthday wishes. What was really cool is the curlers caught wind, and they know that they're mic'd up. So Jolene Campbell was was going from the end of the house that she's in, calling the game, down to throw her skip stones. And as she's making her way down the ice in a slow moment, realizing she's mic'd, she turns and says, happy birthday, Darren, which was really great. And then Nancy Martin waved up to the booth and said, happy birthday. And we had a little that was really great. So awesome birthday. Somebody may have brought a few drinks up to the booth, which we indulged in after the game. Somebody brought coffee. We had peanut butter pie for my birthday. It was incredible. So big thanks to everybody who said happy birthday on Saturday. Really, really great. The KC villains would be the refs and the NFL rigged talking point and the Taylor Swift bandwagon that's been attached to the Chiefs. You could maybe add on the media's fascination with Mahomes too. I'll stop you at the media's fascination because Mahomes is great. He's not even 30, and what he's doing is fantastic. I feel like the media isn't obsessed with him enough. We're talking way too much about the Cowboys and not nearly enough about Patrick Mahomes. What he's doing with Andy Reid has been unbelievable. Something I don't know that we've ever seen this. Now, the difference between him and Tom Brady is Brady did this like 3 different times. He had like 3 different careers that all could be in the Hall of Fame. And I think when you look at Mahomes, 3 in a row, nobody's ever done that. But in order to reach Brady, I think he's got to now do this for another decade and win 1 more Super Bowl. When Kelsey's gone, when maybe when Chris Jones is gone on that defensive line, when you get a new group. Brady did this with different rosters, different weapons, different groups. Okay? That's what was special about Brady. And he did it for a long, long time. So to be the greatest of all time, he's in the conversation already. That's undeniable. But is he going to be Brady? I think he's got to do it for a long period of time. Doesn't have to win a lot more Super Bowls, but he's got to not fall off after this period and this iteration of the Chiefs. He's got to go to another group after Kelsey, after Jones, and see if he can do this again. That's what will be interesting. Okay, let's take a break and see if we can get Rod Log back in. We will hopefully bring him in and then roll. And if not, we'll figure out you and me the rest of the way here. It is the RP Show here on a Wednesday. You're watching live on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming on YouTube, or maybe you're listening to the podcast if it's up on Apple and Spotify.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, we're back at it. Apologies for the earlier, whatever the hell that was. Let's bring the Moose in. He's in Toronto. You did a great job of tap dancing, Moose. Should have got you a top hat and a cane.
Exactly.
Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in. He says, was Rod's shirt too loud for TV? I don't know about that. Maybe God didn't want me talking about the event that I had on the treadmill this morning at LA Fitness, where I lost control of my bodily functions. My fingers started tingling, and I had to sit down for a minute. But we all seem fine now. I don't know. Do you, Moose, want to start like where we were? What do you want to do, man? I feel like it's your show now today. What do you want to do?
No, I think, let's go back. We never got into any of the stuff from the warm-up, so let's roll. Let's go.
Okay, they got the itchy trigger finger going on the Quick Six show horn. So thing is, I wanted to talk about what you were talking about, but we'll get to that. And that is the Chiefs fatigue and all the rest, because I'm hearing a lot of it. And just so you know who's watching our show, we can see who votes and what you vote for in 2025 in the digital world. BC Lions owner Amar Dolman's watching and voted and said, yes, he's got Chiefs fatigue. So I'll just leave that there. I find that interesting that Amar, thank you, Amar, for participating in our polls and supporting the RP show. It is, of course, Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show. We're also Canada's only live daytime sports talk show that I saw. Anyways, number one, we're opening with hockey. Kyle Connor scored twice. Gabriel Velarde had 2 assists, and the visiting Winnipeg Jets beat the Montreal Canadiens 4-1 for their 4th straight NHL win. Mark Scheifele and Rasmus Kupari also scored for the Jets, who opened a 3-game roadie. as far as the Habs go. Juraj Slafkovsky scored for the Canadians, who have lost 3 in a row. All of a sudden, pump the brakes on the Habs. Rebuild's over. And now they'll be trying to tie a can to Martin St. Louis. That's just how it goes, right? And Tates Thompson, I saw you talking about that, and J.J. Peterka each had 3 goals and a helper as the Buffalo Sabres snapped the 2-game slide by whipping the visiting Boston Bruins 7-2. Oddly enough, you and I both picked the Sabres to win. So how about that, Jenna in Southern California? You and I both had that game. You and I both had that game right, Moose. However, you overall waxed me in NHL breakaway bets. You beat me 5-3 last night, and we've pulled into a tie, 29-29 in our NHL picks. I'm just putting that out there. Yeah, it's fun. It's just so darn much fun. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to skip past my next topic because it's NHL to get to the NFL, because it's what I'm dying to talk about. And we sit around, I don't know about your circles. They're somewhat similar to mine, but they're not the same circles. And we go, what caused the NFL to just rocket past every other sport in popularity and revenues? Because they used to be behind baseball, right? In Canada, they were behind the CFL, the NHL. Just NHL still number one in Canada. You know that. But something just lit a fire. And I think it is the betting. Because it's as simple as you and I pick these games. We don't put anything on the line. But I can't wait to get up in the morning and see who won the damn games. I'm checking the scores. I feel like if you want to put your finger on one thing, it's the gambling and the betting that surged the NFL's popularity. Agree or disagree?
I think that's a good, yeah, I do. And the fact that it became mainstream as well. Like, I think gambling in sports has been around for a long time, but you had to go into the basement of some sleazy diner and know a guy who knows a guy to find a bookie, and you got to leverage your house and all that kind of stuff. Now you can just, open up your phone and place a bet. And pools and fantasy, I would include in all of that, has been a big factor.
Well, and it's interesting you say that too. I mean, we'll see where this all goes. Money is the root of all evil. It tends to screw things up. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it was better before when the betting was in a dark alley and just leave it there. And it was that, you know what I mean? Now, what did I say yesterday? What happens in the dark will be brought to light. It always happens. And I just wonder, the NFL owners are going to sit here and say, oh, it's great. Their coffers are full. They can run a terrible team and still make money. Who wouldn't want that? Utah Darren writes in and says, Rod, love the shirt. It looks like it came straight from Bikini Bottom or the Nickelodeon Slime Zone. I'm going to tell you something right now. I got this at Walmart, and Darren knows that, for $14. And Serena bought me some really nice shirts for Christmas, and she gave me this look this morning, and I was leaving the house like, why aren't you wearing the shirts I bought you? I like this one from Walmart for $14, okay? I'm the Florida guy. I love it here so much, and why not wear a shirt with orange slices on it? That's all. Now, to the poll question. Well, hang on. BW in Edmonton writes in and says, the NFL didn't go on strike as much as the other sports. Thoughts? Well, there's a bigger pie to go around, so everybody's much happier. Look at the CFL. Every time the CBA comes up, it seems like they're going to walk out every time. Right? That's what I think it is. Everybody's happy. There's a lot of people eating out of the NFL pot. And that's why I don't really feel like criticizing them, whether it comes to officiating or whatever, which, by the way, here it is Wednesday, and we're already over it. David, number 1 in Winnipeg, writes in and he says, hey, Rod, Happy New Year to you, Serena, and the squad. Thank you, David, number 1. And I saw you writing into Moose earlier. But just try and stay on point. The poll question, Darren got to it, for EMJ Marketing is, and by the way, EMJ Marketing will provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Look up Joe at emjmarketing.com to book yours. The poll question is, are you suffering from Chiefs fatigue? And I said earlier that Amar Dolman, sorry, Amar, to tell the world, but it's not a private vote, just so everybody knows. We can see who votes for what. Like, who cares? We're not splitting. We're not curing cancer here. It's sports, not serious. To Amar, it is. But no, I'm not suffering from Chiefs fatigue. Did we address this yesterday? I feel like we didn't.
No.
Did we or not? I don't think we did.
We talked about the reffing. We talked about that, but we didn't talk about this.
Yeah. Other than to say, I respect greatness. I know we talked about that. And, one step further here, I'm not suffering from Chiefs fatigue. You said you're not suffering from Chiefs fatigue. Bo Levi and the Stampeders, as much as I detest the guy, I respect what he did with the Calgary Stampeders. They were in the Grey Cup every year. So what? They deserve to be there. The 80s Oilers, the 80s Eskimos, the 2000s and 2010s Patriots with Tom Brady. I never got tired of it. And to be honest, I'm a little surprised that as many people are. Although, as you said, society generally, they'd like to support you on the way up, and then they want to bash the shit out of you and knock you off once you're there. Right? They get tired of it. And I've never been that guy. Never, never, never. I celebrate success. I celebrate other people's success. So maybe, I don't know. And by the way, the results of this are around 50-50. But I will tell you this. This is what I am tired of. God bless Joe Madden. I love her. You do too. I know her personally. She's a great gal from the Sports Grid. But she put on Twitter last night, do you think if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl that Travis Kelce will get engaged to Taylor Swift? I'm like, I don't give a shit at all. That I get tired of. How about you?
Yeah, but that's part of it. I'm not really sick of that.
Yes.
I just gloss over it. Okay, I'm not sick of it because I gloss. I don't give it any attention. But I understand that's what a lot of people are interested in, and it brings a lot of people to the game. And it's going to be one of the prop bets. Will they get engaged? Is this going to happen? And every year, I think those odds are probably going up that they're together. So that's part of it. And I understand why people would ask. And I also understand why people would be sick of it and, not want to talk about it.
Sure. But you just made a really good point. Like, there's room for everybody in the pool. So if you don't like what's being discussed in this corner of the pool, go to the other pool. And that's just me. I don't, want to get into the players' personal lives. It makes me queasy. And I don't talk about it much, but I raised 3 daughters. And I've told you, they used to say, do you wish that you had boys? And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't. Honestly don't, because boys do dumb things. But then as the girls got older and we sat and watched Taylor Hall and Jordan Eberle, they're like, do you think that he would be a good husband? Do you think that I'm like, you're ruining this. I just want to watch what's going on the ice. Do you know what I mean? It became, they had one friend, I'm not going to name her, but she's like, the Oilers after a game mobbed each other, and she's like, oh, I'd like to just jump into the bottom of that pile. I'm like, you're ruining this. But again, that's me, and Taylor Swift jumping on the Chiefs bandwagon has done great things for the NFL, which, let's bring this back around. The NFL knows that. So I think we talked about that. I'm not tired of Andy Reid and Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I'm tired of the drama of Taylor Swift. But again, that's just me, and that's not the question. The question, not are you tired of Taylor Swift? The question is, are you tired of the Chiefs? Fatigue. And I'm not. So, by the way, stop the brakes. BW in Edmonton writes that he says, peanut butter pie sounds like a DQ treat. Did you address peanut butter pie in the opening segment and I missed it?
I only said that I had it on my birthday. That's it. It was a very quick glance over it. I never talked about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is like discovering plutonium by accident. Moose was just in Saskatchewan calling the provincial curling championships, and he said the hottest item at the concession was peanut butter pie. And I'm like, how is this just being discovered now? And I feel like it's just been discovered and been unearthed in Saskatchewan, the motherland. Am I right?
In Kindersley, Saskatchewan. And I didn't know what I was getting into. And when I did, your chocolate cream pie is like pudding in a pie shell. And cheesecake, we know what that's like. This is like a combination of the two. It wasn't like pudding, and it wasn't as dense as cheesecake. It was creamy. It was peanut. Oh my God. Like peanut butter pie. If you get a chance, you see it on the menu, just order it.
Dude, I'm in. Can you ship me one? Maybe the recipe, Serena might want to give it a try. Maybe Brent from Wellington, Florida, who cooked baked a banana pie for Serena's birthday. True story. Get out your GPS, because I knew we were going to get lost on this episode of the program today. The way it started out really fit. I knew that we would be all over the place. But what I will say is Darren wrote a tremendous column. It's at rodpeterson.com right now. 2-time winner of Canada's Blog of the Year, I might add. And in it, he talked about the peanut butter pie. He also talked about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And since it's Canada, and I got a million hockey questions and topics that we will get to, but you addressed the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and this upcoming season for them. And why I'm going that way is a lot of our viewers have written in and said, well, look at Winnipeg. David, number 1, says the same can be said for the Bombers, and there being a fatigue of them in the Grey Cup every year, similar to the Chiefs. Well, again, I'm not tired of it. As you said, this is an unbelievable year for the Bombers. Yes, they've been in 5 consecutive Grey Cups. But dare I say, none really bigger than this one? Because it's in their house, and they've lost the last 3 in a row. That's a hell of a story.
It's a hell of a story. And what's really interesting about the Bombers thing, and I know we're kind of up against a break, is that they got there and they won, and they won again. And then they were hated, just like the Chiefs. But now that they've lost these 3, they've become like the lovable loser a little bit. And I think they're starting to become really likable again with Zach and seeing that pain. It's like a wounded puppy, right? You kind of feel bad for it, or like a big pit bull or something. You're like, you hate these big, mean dog until it's wounded. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a second. It's really cute and I love it. I want to help it right now. And I'm feeling like I'm on Winnipeg's bandwagon going into the Grey Cup at home. Everything's on the line.
This is amazing. I hope you're okay with this meme. I just wrote it down. They've become like the lovable loser. Let's just think about that before Moose sets Winnipeg on fire. We're going to take a timeout and be right back. We're rolling now. Live on Game Plus Television, streaming live, and podcasts wherever you enjoy your podcast.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house. Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Okay, we're back at it. By the way, everybody, drink clean, live green. Filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. Please bring the moose in. Like I say, we're off-roading. We're all over the place today. I will say this. Another great article that's up at rodpeterson.com right now is the 10 WHL Things column written by Glenn Erickson in Medicine Hat. I'm just going to put this out there for the Dubsters. I'm not even asking Darren's opinion. He's got himself in enough trouble with Winnipeg today. We don't need him in trouble with Dub fans. But he said in Glenn Erickson's column, he said of the 6 highest drawing teams in the entire Western Hockey League, 4 reside in the U.S. division. That's one thing. 4 of the top 6 teams of all of Western Canadian Major Junior Hockey and the Pacific Northwest, 4 in the U.S. division. And he said the Regina Pats aren't even reporting their attendance anymore. That's how bad it is. So we're going to move on. It's disheartening. It's very disheartening. So we were talking about Chiefs fatigue. Do you have it? Do you not? The results. Clark, what are they saying on YouTube? Because I saw like 60% on Twitter saying no. What's the YouTube vote say? 60% say yes on YouTube. They are getting tired of the Kansas City Chiefs. But I've been to, let's see, the Super Bowl you and I were at, oddly enough, was the Rams and the Bengals. That was a nice diversion from the Chiefs. Last year in Vegas, this was kind of fun. I had so much fun. I really did at the Super Bowl. I'm going to tell you, going to these things sober is amazing. It's way cheaper, and you remember everything, and you don't spend the next several months apologizing afterwards. What's not to love? But there's like, have you seen that Andy Reid twin clone? Have you seen him in the car? You must have.
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen him? I should have stopped. There's just, everybody should go to a Super Bowl at least once. I'm not joking. Everybody says, oh, don't go. Would you say that? Would you say don't go to a Super Bowl? Darren, you've been to one.
No, it's worth it to go. The spectacle, you know, and maybe it's not for everybody, and you don't need to go back, but you need to go once. I think it's something to see.
I don't even know where to start. And it's nice to be able to pick and choose which Super Bowls to go to, not to be expected to go to everyone. But last year, there was so much going on in Las Vegas that when that Andy Reid clone walked by, and I saw him 2, 3, 4 times, people literally thought he was Andy Reid. He's got the Chiefs jacket, the big beard, he's portly. And I'm like, well, people are going, is that him? Is that not him? Ran into Peter King again. That was cool. We gave each other the nod because we were across the crowded Mandalay Bay corridor, just passing like 2 ships in the night. But you remember the NFL experience in downtown Los Angeles. You, me, and Serena stood there, looked at that guy for 5 minutes and said, is that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? But we were too shy to go up to him. Do you wish we had?
Yeah, I wish I was better at that, and that's something I'm trying to go take the photo, go say the thing. He's not going to remember. What is like a little awkwardness, but yet we all get a little nervous and shy, and I get that. And we don't want to be a bother to anybody, but NFL experience was so cool being down there. And that's the thing about Super Bowl. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars and go to the football game. Go to the festival,
Exactly.
Go for the week, go people watch. There's a million ways to enjoy it.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, the Grey Cup last year in Vancouver was amazing. And we were talking about Amar Dolman earlier. If he's still watching, we saw who you voted for, Amar. He says he's got Chiefs fatigue. But there is a school of thought that that was the best Grey Cup ever last year in Vancouver. He was behind it, and his crew. You know all those guys. Riley Wuchar, Dwayne Vino of the Lions. Because of a lot of, they went to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, they looked at what was going on, and they replicated it in Vancouver. We have our CFL celebrities and Canadian sports celebrities too. Bring them to the party. You know that story. I got so mad at the 2013 Grey Cup in Regina when the one security, Paul Blart, was so proud that he wouldn't let John Cornish into Ryderville, made him stand in line. I'm like, you stupid donkey. Can't fix stupid, Moose. Rick in Martinsville writes in and says, come on, let's be real. Nobody feels sorry for the Bombers except Bomber fan. Oh, Moose's meme is going to light him up, light him up, light him up. I can't wait. They've become like the lovable loser. Now, I've completely dispensed with the sports update for this hour. We'll do it next hour because we missed the entire first segment in terms of you and me. You did a wonderful job of filling in. But the one thing, I've seen this, with Alex Pietrangelo pulling out of the Four Nations face-off. What's the coverage you're seeing on it? Because Cam Moon and I kicked this around yesterday, the voice of the Oilers, and as two longtime hockey guys, and I'd like to think two pretty open-minded guys, we're like, if you don't want to play, you shouldn't have to play. Cam said it. You don't know what he's dealing with. He doesn't have to divulge what he's dealing with. So let's move on. Number one, if you don't want to play for your country, that's a choice he's making, and let's move on because there's a lot of guys that do. So, number one, what is your opinion on Pietrangelo pulling out? Because I feel like we didn't talk about it much on Tuesday.
No, we didn't talk about it at all, really. And I think for me, it seems like he's making a choice here. Look, I can play for Canada or I can play for Vegas. Like I'm going to have to, whatever it is, it sounds like he's going to have to deal with it at some point. And the more it happens, it's going to get worse or something. So he's going to take this opportunity to heal and be ready for the Golden Knights season and the playoffs and all the rest. And I think if you're a Golden Knights fan, you love it. But for all of us that are hockey fans and Canadians, we're like, come on, you should want to bleed and die for your country. And I want that. But I get it. And then some of the coverage I've seen was like, he's pulled out of Canada, but like he just played 24 minutes last night for the Vegas Golden Knights. Well, again, two opposing things can still be true at the same time. Like it can be something you can play through, but at some point you need some time to deal with it. And he sees this opportunity to take a break and fix whatever's the problem so he can play the rest of the season. Then who are we to argue, I think?
You said it very well. Thank God you brought your A game today, Moose. You're really on point. BW writes in from Edmonton. He says, Rod, on my phone, that shirt looked like poppies from the Royal Legion. Got the show on my big screen now. I see the oranges. Okay, well, I'm glad that you did. Colt watching in San Diego says, I have never been to a Super Bowl, but I have been to Super Bowl fan experience. It was the best. Well, this is the thing. For whatever reason, it was on vogue to bash me in Canada, but just so you know, I left. I live in Florida now. You can't bash me anymore. But if you remember, I came home from L.A. with you from the Super Bowl, and I said, this is what we need to do in Canada. And I put that on Twitter. Remember me getting bashed? Gashed from neck to navel by the Dustin Nielsens of the world and the Dave Naylors of the world and all these guys. I'm like, you're not getting it. But Amar Doman did exactly that. He took that Super Bowl experience in Las Vegas and replicated it in Vancouver. And you remember the coverage, and that's what I was trying to say. I guess I'm not a good communicator. I've only done 1,424 of these shows, plus thousands of hockey games, but I can't communicate well. No, they didn't want to hear what I was saying. Amar replicated that big-time experience in Vancouver on a slightly smaller scale. But that is what maybe think of it. That Vancouver Convention Center was exactly like the convention center you and I are in downtown LA. Like, I mean, if you spun you around, put a black blindfold on, you took it off, you wouldn't know which was which. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Amar gets it. But I mean, some of us speak the same language. Many of us don't. And many of us never will. Okay. Pause. Taylor in Calgary says, I remember fans were unhappy the Stampeders going to 3 straight Grey Cups, saying anyone but Calgary, ABC. We've been saying ABC for 40 years, bro. It wasn't just because of that. We'll let you take a break, and we'll see you back here in hour 2, Moose.
All right. Check you then.
Okay, we'll be right back here on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcast wherever you enjoy your podcast.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house. Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now back to the studio with Rod.
It's a quickie. I hope you're enjoying the program as much as we are. Take your brain out for a couple hours. Whether you put it back in or not is optional. Colt writes in from San Diego. He's a big CFL fan. He says, how cool to see Rod was on the BC Lions Arrow Up series, episode 3. It was cool to see they took a clip from the RP show talking about the BC Lions. I'm going to have to tune into that. I didn't see that. Thank you for pointing that out. Regarding big games, and you got to go, and it's so much fun. Jeremy in Winnipeg writes in. He says, I was at the 2019 AFC Championship game versus Moose's Titans. It was electric. And not a dry eye in Arrowhead. Who knew the beginning of the dynasty? Darren's, he's basically going to light Winnipeg on fire here. I could just see it. A movie clip. Talking about the Blue Bombers, 3 straight losses. They've become like the lovable loser. Like a Lloyd Christmas meme. Hey, this isn't a laughing matter. A major rift in the Vancouver Canucks dressing room might not be fixable, according to Jim Rutherford. Vancouver's president of hockey operations tells the Globe and Mail that the team has been unsuccessful in addressing a long-rumored spat between stars Elias Pedersen and JT Miller. Rutherford says the drama has impacted the entire Canucks squad. Okay, that's in my commentary today, which will be dropping at 1 o'clock at rodpeterson.com. It's also on Sask Radio today. I want to address this next hour with Moose. The coverage has been out of control. I get that in Vancouver. It's part of why I haven't spent as much time on it as maybe some would like. But, I mean, 2 guys aren't getting along. Not the first time this has happened in history, but also a very serious situation, something that we don't want to make light of. And when you got the president of the team coming out, president of hockey, saying this is unfixable, it's affected our whole room. He's not lying. It's hard to go to war, sports terms, with somebody you don't like or respect or intensely dislike. That's not going to be successful. It's really put the team in a bad bind. We'll talk about that next hour with Moose. The Toronto Raptors shoot for a 5th straight win when they visit the last-place Washington Wizards. In one of 11 NBA games, the Wizards at the bottom of the Eastern Conference with 6 wins have lost 14 in a row. They're like the Washington Generals. Change their name to that. Sports update is for Landmark Cinemas. Number 1 at the Landmark Cinemas box office right now, Flight Risk. In this high-stakes suspense thriller directed by Mel Gibson, Mark Wahlberg plays a pilot transporting a fugitive to trial. As they cross the Alaskan wilderness, tensions soar and trust is tested, as not everyone on board is who they seem. Flight Risk in Landmark Cinemas now and number 1 at the box office. We'll see you after this brief pause here on Game Plus.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Now,
the Stars offered me box seats, luxury box suites for Game 7. I think it was Game 6. And I said, hey, Stanley Cup could get handed out tonight. I've always wanted to be in the building when the Stanley Cup gets handed out. And she said, we came down here for George Strait. We're going to George Strait.
How about that?
So I walked out of Cowboys Stadium, and I'm like, hey, who won the Stars game? Who won the Stars game? It's Dallas in 2000. No, the who, the what? And I'm like, this wouldn't have happened in Winnipeg. They know.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Speaking of George Strait, great song by him. My life's been grand. Problem is, it's only half over. I don't know what the second act has in store. I'm here in the South Florida studio. Moose is in Toronto. Let's let her rip. Moose, let's just dive right into it. Guys, you want to hit the quick six show horn? We'll re-up on what we were talking about last hour. Have not even got to the NHL Coach of the Year discussion, which is literally something we can save for another day. We talked about NHL leftovers. Look out. Montreal's lost 3 in a row. The Leafs look to snap a 2-game slide tonight as Minnesota is there. Super Bowl 59, that brought about the poll question. Are you suffering from Chiefs fatigue? The majority of you saying, no, you're not. From what I can see, the majority saying no. 60 to 70% say no. I'm tired of this Kelsey Taylor Swift talk, but as Darren said, then I don't need to participate in it. And that's cool. We talked briefly about Alex Pietrangelo pulling out of Team Canada for the Four Nations face-off. We have not talked about who we think should replace him. And just from the audience here, Bomber Boy in Calgary writes in, he says, the Winnipeg Jets know all about a toxic American player destroying a locker room. Yeah, it was a Blake Wheeler. Nobody would say it. I can say it. I'm not being paid by the Jets or any Winnipeg media. It was Blake Wheeler. That's why they had to get rid of him. They started it by stripping the C off him. And now look where they've gone. Nowhere but up without him. JT Miller, just doesn't come with a real good reputation in Vancouver. And that's where I think we'll settle into this, Darren, that we did not get to this last hour, and we should have. We got a lot of people watching in BC today because they're telling us that they are. Your thoughts on Jim Rutherford, the president of hockey of the Canucks, saying this doesn't look fixable, doesn't look solvable, the spat between Elias Pedersen and JT Miller, so we're going to have to move them. And it's affected the whole team, clearly.
Yeah, it has. I always look at what's the goal here? What are we trying to accomplish? What's Jim Rutherford trying to accomplish? Why? What's the point? And I think this is just adding fuel to the fire and probably making it worse. Probably didn't need to say those things.
Yeah.
But then I start thinking about it and I think, well, geez, maybe the trade conversations aren't what he thought they were. Maybe there's just not as many of them. So perhaps he's doing this to say, we have to move him. Hello, call me. We got to move this guy. Like maybe he's doing that to try and elicit a little more urgency and maybe get those offers raised. Because he's also said that he's not going to give him away for nothing. He wants to get value for him. And JT Miller's a really good player. But to the fan base, this really sucks because, it's just adding fuel to the fire and it's not good.
I have a different approach on that. In that, I think you're close to it, and I don't know. This is my supposition. Just having been in these situations before, they tried to fix it internally, so now they've gone externally. And for him to tell the whole league that we've got problems here, we got two players that don't get along. Everybody in the league knows. That's the one people talk, especially now. They've always talked, but now it's even easier. Because from what I understand, the players don't hate each other like they used to, right? They're going out for edibles after the game. It's a different time, okay? So I could sit here and bring up a lot of examples of players that did not get along on teams that I broadcast with. And let's be honest, you've called games for teams too. You're on the bus, you're on the plane, you're around them. You can see it. Within 5 minutes, you can see what's going on. And this has been going on all year, maybe past, right? So it's not a laughing matter. I'm not going to name any names, but we had two guys with the Rough Riders that were at each other's throats, literally in the locker room. It had to do with a woman, and we had to get rid of one. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't going to be fixed, right? And you know this for a fact. My story, you probably have a few of your own. Going to work at a TV station, going to work at a radio station with somebody that you can't stand their guts. You can get through it for a while. You ain't never going to be successful. That is not a long-term strategy. You can get through it, but there's no happy ending to that. So do you see what what do you think about those thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, once you know, it's hard to go back and it's hard to fix. And sometimes the person, like in a situation, sometimes one person's in the right, one person's in the wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean that the person in the right is going to stay, because you have to do what's best for the rest of the team too. The person in the wrong might be the one who gets along with everybody, or might be better for your organization long term. But when you know a move has to be made, a move's got to be made. And the fact that it hasn't been made yet is a big problem, especially when you're a Vancouver Canucks team that's like literally fighting for your playoff life. Like you're 1 point out of the playoffs. You need every single win, and every day that this continues to fester is a day that they're going the wrong way.
Yeah, well, I could see how it would very easily affect an entire dressing room. And Jim Rutherford's now got his hands, both of them, tied behind his back. He's trying to do what's best for the Vancouver Canucks. Sea Lightning writes in regarding the toxic American player with the Winnipeg Jets. Yes, it was Blake Wheeler. He goes, Blake Wheeler? I didn't know that. Yeah, it's this big secret that nobody wants to talk about. There was a media member that slammed Blake Wheeler up against the wall, a Winnipeg media member, because of his incessant teasing of that media member. I got that from an eyewitness. What else do you want to know? We'll come back on that in a second, but Tony from Cochrane, regarding the Raptors catching fire, going after a fifth straight win tonight, he says the Toronto media is pissed. The Raptors are now winning and blowing their chances at a top draft pick, but I'm loving it. He goes, tanking is cheating. Says who? Like, Bomber Boy writes in and says, the Leafs tanked for Matthews. I don't know about that. What I will tell you is this. Winners win. End of story. There's a really big, great history of that here with the Miami Dolphins fairly recently, right? When Brian Flores got fired, the head coach of the Dolphins, he turned around and sued the Dolphins for wrongful dismissal. And then in his statement, whatever the lawsuit was, stated that the owner, Stephen Ross, offered him $100,000 a loss at the end of that season to improve their draft position. That was from the owner. And Flores is like, I won't do it. I know these coaches better than anything, man. As do you, Darren. Like, hockey, football, it doesn't matter. It's all about winning percentage. Just one bloody game might affect your winning percentage in hockey by 0.02%, but they're winners win, okay? So for the media to be mad that they're tanking, that's a media thing. That's why they're in the media, okay? No matter how high up it goes, and in the case of the Dolphins that hit the owner, that's where the directive came to lose, and Flores is like, I don't want to do that. Why do you think he outed him in the lawsuit? You know what I mean? So, yeah, tanking is a thing that people talk about. It's fun to talk about. Losing organizations do it. Winning organizations do not. Look at your Titans. They now have the #1 overall pick. Is there any evidence at all that they tanked down the stretch, or are they just that bad? Because, frankly, I think they are.
I think they were just that bad, unfortunately. And since Ryan Tannehill, they turned things over to Will Levis last year, it's been bad. And they just haven't had quarterback play. So they've been bad. There's no tanking there. Because you said coaches, and I mean especially good ones, like that affects things down the line. Hireability, but also you look at that career-winning percentage. Those are things we talk about when we talk about Hall of Fames. Right? And coaches have losing seasons. They all do. But they don't intentionally lose. Nobody would want to do that.
Speaking of the NFL, the poll question is for EMJ Marketing. Do you have Chiefs fatigue? Greg in Calgary writes in and he says, I had Patriots fatigue, but not Chiefs fatigue. Well, you might. You might just be getting warmed up because the Patriots were in 10 Super Bowls? Because Tom won 6, but he lost at least 3. I think they were in 10 Super Bowls in that time. Or maybe it was just Tom. It was a lot. So we might end up getting Chiefs fatigue by the time this is all done. But again, I can't remember which day commentary I put this in, but I think what the Chiefs have done, it was today's, is even more impressive because the rules in the NFL are designed to not allow this to happen. Let's be honest about the 80s Eskimos, the 80s Oilers. All that was done pre-salary cap, right? They just ran amok with expertly run teams. But you didn't have a league trying to tie an arm behind your back, which is what they've tried to do with these teams, and the Chiefs are still doing it, Darren. That makes it even more impressive to me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy what they're able to do, especially in this era right now where there are so many talented quarterbacks in the league. Like the level of play is really, really high and across the board, and they continue to not just win, they're head and shoulders better than everybody else. I mean, one loss all year, and they're back in the Super, and it's like they're not even trying, and they're getting there. So, yeah, they're great. But you know what? I had Patriots fatigue for a while and wasn't a big Brady. But the older Brady got, and the more they kept winning, the more I actually started to like them again. And you start admiring what they've done and the excellence. So I'm curious. I'm just always curious to see where this goes, how long it lasts, and I'll be interested to see how we look back on this in 10 or 15 years.
Utah, Darren writes in and says, if Flores would have lost on purpose, the owner would have fired him for losing. Oh, my God. Jeremy, the Chiefs fan, says, elite quarterback and drafting. Mostly they drafted players that fit Spag's system. Welcome those that have just tuned in. Better late than ever. You've missed a lot. Owners, dude, don't get me going. Please don't. It'll all go in my book. Darren, I will write it. Just for my own reasons, I'm waiting. Scott Laughlin is coming up in the next segment from NHL Radio. We'll get to him in a second. But it's funny because I'm dealing with a newspaper writer from my past on good terms. But for 25 years, he wouldn't talk to me because, Darren, in the 90s, he knew that I did something to cover up for our dirty owners. But at that time, he couldn't prove it. You know what I mean? And I didn't feel good about it. But I had a wife, I had a baby on the way, I had a mortgage, I had to do what I was told to do. And this reporter had it in for me for 25 years because I did something to cover up for our dirty owners because I was told to do it, right? So there's that. That's just come into my present right now. I just emailed them the other day. On the flip side, with the Rough Riders, they told me to do something dirty and cover up for them, and I said, nope, I won't. I didn't have the pressure that I did 20 years before that. And that ended me there. So these owners, man, they'll get you either way. But I was reading Harry Carey. The bad owners will get you either way. But I was reading Harry Carey's Wikipedia. Believe it or not, you know him. Iconic voice of the St. Louis Cardinals and later the Cubs and White Sox. He was the voice of the Oakland A's for only one season, 1970. One season. And he quit because of a meddling owner. I'm like, this isn't new? You mean you can leave and thrive afterwards? Oh, my God. I wish somebody had told me. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 NHL games tonight. You ready?
Yeah.
Philadelphia at New Jersey. Who do you have?
Devils.
Me too. Minnesota Wild at the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're going to take the Leafs.
It'll be a great game. I'll take the Leafs, yeah.
Wild for me. LA Kings at Florida Panthers. Go, Cats, go. Panthers for me.
Okay.
How about you?
I'll take the Kings.
I knew you would. Vancouver at Nashville. In the midst of this grease fire, I'll take the Predators. How about you?
Okay, I'll take the Canucks.
The Knuckleheads for Moose. And Pittsburgh at Utah.
Ooh, Penguins.
Perfect, because I really think Utah's going to win. Hang on. Sea Lightning writes in and says, Rod, what time will you be on Thursday with Scott from the South Florida Tribune? You and him are highly entertaining. Thank you, Sea Lightning. I will be on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on the South Florida Tribune Sports Exchange show. So there you go. Thanks for tuning in. We do have big fun. Utah Darren writes in, he says, Andy Reid is a tremendous evaluator of not only talent, but also character. Anyone would go play for the Chiefs, but Reid chooses whom he wants. Yeah, like it's a fluke that the Chiefs keep getting back there. You want good people, you want chemistry. Yeah, I could go on and on and on about that for days. Moose, can't wait for you to have that meme fired up and then watch the hilarity ensue. You go have a great afternoon.
All right. We'll check you later.
Folks, you can read Darren's latest 10 thoughts at rodpeterson.com right now, twice named Canada's Sports Blog of the Year. We will have Scott Laughlin from NHL Radio coming in next. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and podcasts wherever you enjoy your podcasts.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Esteban and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
As you know, everybody, we're brought to you in part by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. This Friday, it's their Player Development Day Camp. Runs 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. for players of all ages. It's only $99, lunch and snacks included, because as you know, hockey players like snacks. It's Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Book now at overtimehl.ca. We're going to get to hockey with SiriusXM NHL Radio Scott Laughlin in a second. Let's bring in Scott. I know he loves football, though. And our poll question today, Scott, is simply this. Are you suffering from Chiefs fatigue as we get ready for Super Bowl 59 and they're in 5 of the last 6? What are you voting on that?
I'm really not, Rod. I've actually become a bit of a Swiftie. So the more we get of Taylor Swift, the better it is for me. Now, I do have a teenage daughter, so that would lead to that bond that we've got with Taylor Swift. We managed to get down to one of the shows in Toronto just a couple of months ago, too. So, no, look, I think the reality is that, you know, we have to relish that this could be NFL history. I know Cowboys fans remember the Cowboys being that close, if not for a dreadful start in San Francisco in the NFC Championship game way back in the mid-1990s. They would have had the opportunity to go for 3 straight Super Bowls as well, too. So there's a reason that nobody's ever done it before, and I think you've got to appreciate what they've put together. All they do is win, 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 and they might just be peaking at the right time, saving their best for last.
Okay, you back up the truck. You went to the Taylor Swift concert with your kid. I think the same night Elliot Friedman went, because I heard it on your show. Now, you are differentiate. You don't feel like I'm a stalker, do you, Scott? You understand I'm just a big fan of your show. You know that, right? Please tell me you know that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right back at you, Rod, for sure.
Okay. I don't want to go into stalker territory. That's all. You tell me if I am, okay? Now, The Vancouver Canucks drama. They're in Nashville tonight. My gosh. I don't actually really remember something becoming public like this. It's not the first dressing room spat. Probably every team has one. What's your read on the situation, Scott?
Well, I thought the interview that Jim Rutherford did yesterday was pretty telling because back in the day, Rod, we'd say to ourselves, the general manager, in this case, the president, is not doing him any good, himself any good, his franchise any good by coming out and admitting that there's a huge issue in the dressing room that they're going to have to address at some point. But I think when you realize that the genie's out of the bottle, that everybody on the planet knows that that Vancouver room right now is in a bit of a state of upheaval. I think that, he's free to speak his mind. He usually does so very candidly, very honestly. So I think he acknowledged yesterday in the interview what everybody's known for a while, that JT Miller and EP40 don't get along very well. This even goes back to last season, which in a lot of ways, and with the injury to Demko, of course, in a lot of ways, the fact that Rick Tocchet was able to get the most of the Vancouver Canucks going back to last season makes it that much more impressive. So, look, we all know the shoe's going to drop. I don't think they're going to trade both. I've heard that suggested. I think that one player leaving, likely Miller, because he's about 5 years older than Pedersen is. One player out the door is going to probably alleviate a lot of that pressure out there in Vancouver. And I think you'll see a little bit more in the way of harmony and probably a little bit more in the way of on-ice success once JT Miller gets traded. If they can't trade Miller, like we say, I mean, you might want to try to hit the home run on Elias Pedersen. But right now, it's pretty clear that at some point, whether it's tomorrow, next week, next month, or in the off-season, Rod, when it might be easier to orchestrate a huge deal by bringing everybody back into the fold, that something's going to have to give.
What an unbelievable story it really is. And I feel bad for Canucks fans because they deserve better than this whole drama. To more fun things, in my mind. Alex Pietrangelo pulls out of the Four Nations face-off for his own reasons. Whatever. Cam Moon and I agreed on this show yesterday. Hey, it's his life. It's his deal. Who knows what he's dealing with? We don't know. Who would you like to see replace him?
I had Chris Tanev on my roster when we selected our rosters about 4 to 6 weeks ago, I guess it was. I had Tanev on the roster. I actually had Shea Theodore playing with Pietrangelo. Now that's not going to happen, as you point out. I actually had Morgan Rielly. I know he's had a down season in Toronto, but I thought with Rielly and Tanev, familiar with each other from Toronto, familiar with being a defensive pairing for Team Canada at the World Championship a while back, I thought that would be a real good chemistry fit as well for Team Canada. So I look at Chris Tanev in the same way I used to look at a guy like Mark-Edouard Vlasic, who just recently played his 1,300th NHL game. Not a guy that's going to wow you by any stretch of the imagination, but the type of guy, Rod, that you know that you need to win. He's going to do all the little things, always be in the right position. He's a human shield when it comes to shot blocking pucks. So I think that type of a guy can supply a little bit of what Petro does at this stage of his career. And you're right. I mean, Pietrangelo, he spoke yesterday and said, look, my family, my kids, they were looking forward to doing it once again and seeing dad play for Team Canada, but I've been nursing this ailment for the last little bit. I need to get healthy for the stretch run. And you and Cam are exactly right. That's his prerogative. Is he going to be the final guy to pull out? Probably not. There are going to be some injuries that pop up and some guys that might have been playing hurt that have said, you know what, I need to take the week off because I have to be ready for the stretch run.
I can't wait to get down to a Merit Bank Arena tonight. I'll get down there early to talk to the hockey boys and see what they have to say about this. The LA Kings are in here tonight, and I just wonder, this is deep hockey talk, but that's what you get into. Do you not think John Cooper and the GM, Doug Armstrong, right, wouldn't want a right-handed shooting defenseman? Because I saw the list. Aaron Ekblad, Drew Doughty, Mackenzie Weegar. There's a lot of great right-handed shooting defensemen, or because Morgan Rielly shoots left. How big a deal do you think this will be?
Yeah, and you're talking about Drew Doughty coming back tonight too, right? So, look, that's going to be exciting. I don't think that Doughty is going to be a legitimate answer to it. I think deep down he'd want to play. I don't think coming back tonight and getting a game or two in or 3 games in before the tournament starts is going to serve him well enough. It's going to serve Team Canada well enough to throw him right in there into the heat of intense best-on-best competition. And I don't think the Los Angeles Kings, Rod, would be in favor of Drew Doughty going to play for Canada. I don't think they would be in favor of that because it's too risky for a guy that is going to be integral for them down the stretch to run the risk of him maybe not being up to speed and getting re-injured. So you don't want that. To answer your question, yeah, it makes sense just to slide a right-handed shot defenseman in there. If it's not Chris Tanev, Rod, I would have no problem. I don't know about you, but I would have no problem with Mackenzie Weegar. I really wouldn't. I know Mackenzie Weegar's come out, and I know he had that dreadful giveaway last night in the loss that Calgary had against Washington. But Weegar has said, look, I've got a Mexican vacation planned. I'll be glad to scrap that if you guys pick up the phone and give me a call. So my number one choice would still be Tanev for that stay-at-home defensive presence. But I think Mackenzie Weegar as well would probably be up there as far as my options are concerned. And I think to your point as well, Rod, I think ideally you'd like to slide a right-handed shooting defenseman in there.
It's interesting. I didn't even see Tanev's name on the potential list, and I think that was a gaffe by them. He would be a very good candidate. Hey, how many Chicago games do you get to watch? I know you watch a lot, but how many? 50%, 60%, 10%? How many do you see of them?
Well, I guess the question, Rod, would be how many full Chicago games have I watched, right? Because so many times, and I know you're the same way, Rod, you go up and down the dial, right? And Chicago, to answer the question, is not necessarily a go-to game. When you've got 5 games, 8 games, 10 games, 14 games, whatever, Chicago's usually not your first choice as far as your featured attraction, marquee attraction is concerned, right? As good as Connor Bedard has been, they still don't have enough around him, Rod, right? I mean, this is still a work in progress. He's got 18 points in his last 17 games, but a lot of the guys in their system have still not arrived. Frank Nazar is going to be a good player, but still scratching the surface, trying to figure things out in the NHL. Oliver Moore is a kid that obviously was drafted in the Bedard draft and a second first rounder that the Blackhawks had at that particular draft. He's still a ways away, too. So, look, I mean, Chicago's not necessarily a go-to. I think they thought they'd be better this season. They aren't. But last night was a pretty impressive win against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And for a young team like that, generally speaking, that's usually a pretty good confidence boost.
The reason I ask, I feel this is more of a chat than an interview, to be honest with you. I should have said, how many games have you seen a part of? Because, we were just up in Chicago last week, saw 2 games live, and he was pretty good, Bedard. But he dominated the damn game in Tampa Bay last night. In Tampa. He did. I watched the whole thing. And you saw his goal. And I just I wonder how good he would be on a playoff team and how long this is going to take. Because I'll be honest with you, Kyle Davidson does not have the full confidence of that fan base simply because he's unproven. Like Jim Rutherford in Vancouver, he's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he? I'll defer to what Jim Rutherford thinks is best. In Chicago, I kind of wonder how long it'll be before, if they ever turn it around, because there's not a lot of hope in the barn. Do you see any?
No, not at all. Not at this point. I don't see it. I think the best thing that they could do, Rod, in the offseason is, first of all, you got to figure out your head coach, right? Okay, so you still know that you've got the draft picks and you've got the young kids in your pipeline, but it's going to take a year or 2 or 3 for them to arrive on the scene to surround a guy like Connor Bedard with a little bit of something. If a guy like Mikko Rantanen doesn't extend with Carolina and he hits the market, should the Hawks be in on a Mikko Rantanen? Do you imagine him playing on a line with Connor Bedard? That might be something they can buy into if the Hawks are willing to go 13, 14 million a year, and I think somebody is going to do that. For a guy like Mikko Rantanen, who might be in Carolina for a good time, not a long time. But the first thing they've got to iron out, though, is the head coach, right? I mean, Sorensen looks like he's there as a stopgap measure. I think by all accounts, most people felt like Luke Richardson got as much out of that team as they could have, because you haven't seen much in the way of improvement under Sorensen. So some have suggested, and I don't think I'm against this idea, I would open up the checkbook and I would go get David Carl, who's coming off, of course, a championship at DU. If he wins in a month or 2 at the Frozen Four, if Denver should get as far as the Frozen Four, that would be 3 NCAA championships in 4 seasons. Of course, we know he's won back-to-back with the U.S. at the World Junior Hockey Championship, Rod. I would say to David Carl, here's an offer you can't refuse. Why don't you jump into the NHL and see what you got with the Chicago Blackhawks?
You're one step ahead of me, man. That's who I would have hired, too. But, I mean, if they got crappy players, it's not going to matter. They could have Scotty Bowman on the bench. And the odd thing is every team's got the same salary cap. That's the whole reason it's there, for parity, and they just continue to screw it up. Listen, I don't hear a lot of you taking questions from the audience. Maybe you do, and it's not when I'm listening, but I'm going to have to get you out of here because a million just spilled in. I'll ask you one, maybe two, depending on how verbose you get. Jeremy in Winnipeg wants to know, he's a Detroit fan. Can Todd McClellan get the Wings to the playoffs to break the streak? Because Wings fans, I'm sure you hear from them, they can't believe the turnaround under Todd. They call him the Todd father.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. I mean, we saw the initial boost that they got. Then they fell back a little bit. Now they're playing much better hockey again, too. So, look, I think that Lucas Raymond's been fabulous for that team. He might be, over the last 12 months, with all due respect to Dylan Larkin, their best player. He's showing up consistently. We'll see him on display, we think, at the Four Nations if he can stay healthy. I think the defense has been better. You've seen what they can do when they get a little bit of goaltending along the way, and Cam Talbot's been a nice story. So all those things continue to keep on keeping on with the structure that Todd McClellan teams generally play with. I think Detroit's got a good shot.
One quick last one. I hope this isn't too touchy for you. I don't think it is. You're a vet. Jeff, the Stamps fan, he's watching in Calgary. He says, I believe in karma, and it's killing the Blackhawks right now. I got some real strong thoughts on that. I was there on a Saturday night against Vegas 2 Saturdays ago. The place was freaking bursting at the seams, the United Center, okay? Everybody was having a great time. Everybody got fired. Everybody's gone. Everybody's got their pound of flesh. Joel Quenneville's still not coaching. Like, get over it. I don't believe it's karma. I think it's bad management. But I wonder how much you hear in your circles.
Well, I'd agree with you, Rod. I mean, we're at the point now, of course, Stan Bowman has come back, and Joel Quenneville is going to come back as well at some point. And that's with all sensitivity towards the situation, which I know you have as well as I do. Mm-hmm. But Stan's back now, and yeah, and I think Joel's on the radar for a lot of teams out there. I don't necessarily think with time becoming of the essence right now, he's returning this season. But let's wait and see in the next couple of months what that has to hold as far as his return to the NHL is concerned.
Great answer. Love talking hockey with you, Scott. You know that. Thanks for the time today, man. Keep on keeping on.
Anytime, Rod. Thanks for having me as always.
SiriusXM NHL Radio, Scott Laughlin, joining us from Hogtown. Do they still call it that? We got a sports update coming up and viewer takeover the rest of the way. Man, did we cover a lot of ground today. We're live on the Game Plus television network Canada-wide on your TV and in 32 U.S. states. Also streaming live. I'm making notes because some things have popped into my head, so come right back. Podcast wherever you enjoy your podcast.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
I like it. I was back 1,424 shows ago. Back from where? This is the way it is now. Got some interesting sports updates here for you on this Wednesday, January 29th, in the year of our Lord, 2025. I got an email today. I could show it to you if you want. Addressed to Minister Pedersen. It's happening. On Sunday, I was ordained as a minister in the state of Florida by the Universal Life Church. So I can perform weddings and other ceremonies. But Minister Pedersen, you can call me Father Rod, Clark.
How about that?
I like the ring of that. Okay. I went to the Hobby Lobby yesterday. It was a very fruitful venture. My red Stampeders bell down there, I just feel is a little too loud for this place. This works well, doesn't it? For breaking news. And then, what do you think it would cost for a styrofoam mannequin head? Yes. Moose thought $40. Nope. Try $7 US, which I think roughly works out to $40 Canadian. But I've been looking for one of those things forever. I was going to all these beauty studios and stuff. They wouldn't let me buy them because I wasn't a card-carrying hairstylist. I got that at the Hobby Lobby. So, yeah, it's a great place. The serious news, well, it's all serious, but Philadelphia Flyers goaltender Samuel Pedersen has been added to Sweden's roster for the upcoming Four Nations face-off as an injury replacement for New Jersey's Jacob Markstrom. So there's that. That's taken care of. Not huge news there. But this is where I'm interested in all of your takes. Here's news from the NFL today. Quarterbacks Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, and Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders will skip this weekend's Pro Bowl games. They'll be replaced by New England's Drake May, Pittsburgh's Russell Wilson, and Tampa Bay's Baker Mayfield. The Pro Bowl, featuring skills competitions and a flag football game, runs Thursday through Sunday up in Orlando, like 3 hours from me. How do we feel about that? This is just a couple days after Alex Petrangelo pulls out of the Four Nations face-off. Is this just not the whole you do you and I'll do me generation? I just wonder. Saul, I'm just putting it out there for discussion. Don't get mad. Don't throw a hissy fit. I wonder how the NFL feels about this. Maybe they don't care. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels pulling out of the Pro Bowl games. This used to be the All-Star game, right? Because of player safety. It's drills and a flag game, which, by the way, I watch. We all watch it. What do we say? Put it on television, we're going to watch. Maybe they feel it's adequate replacements. New England's Drake May, Pittsburgh's Russell Wilson, and Tampa Bay's Baker Mayfield. Those guys just, the first three that are pulling out are coming off a long football season. Listen, they're not feeling 100%. But they're also making more money than they ever have. I don't know. I'm in this constant tug-of-war in my mind of the way things used to be versus the way things are now. And I do kind of think, what do they say? To those whom much is given, much is expected. Has that changed? Isn't that in the Bible? I should know that. I'm a minister.
How about that?
To whom much is given, much is expected. I don't think it came in the Bible, but maybe it did. From my friend Chris from the Bronx. He says, Father Rod, do you take confession? From you, Chris, I don't have enough time. I called him this summer, my friend Chris from the Bronx, without a word of a lie. I was in downtown Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. I'll never forget where I was, right in front of the TV, and he's like, what do you think about this Caitlin Clark? Who? What? Caitlin Clark. What Clark? Caitlin Clark, the basketball player. Oh, Clark. Can you speak like the rest of us, Chris? I thought it was some newfangled clock. Timepiece. Caitlin Clark. What do you think that's Caitlin Clark? I love you, and that's why I tease you, Chris. If I didn't, I wouldn't talk to you at all. Jeff the Stamps fan says, it's not in the Bible, but it's in every employee's handbook somewhere. I'm not really surprised that a lot of you are agreeing with me for two reasons. Number one, you're watching this show, so clearly there's a reason for that. And number two, we tend to have a little age behind us here, and that's the way we were raised. Yeah. I'm struggling with so much in life. Well, I am and I'm not. Colton San Diego writes, and he says, I like the quarterback passing in the Pro Bowl games. That's fun. It is good, but that's not the debate that we're having here. To be honest, this is probably better than what the Pro Bowl had become, where that was a touch football game anyways, so we might as well do drills. What the hell? And flag is fun. Bomber Boy in Calgary writes, and he says, the Rod Father. That's not bad. Jeremy in Winnipeg writes in and says, how hard are you to get to do a wedding, Father Rod? It's negotiable. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes, and he says, LMAO, Rod. John in Edmonton writes, and he says, why do you think ticket sales are not selling for the Four Nations face-off? Is it because of ticket prices? I don't know, John. I don't know. But you always want to take the negative slant, and I don't. So ask somebody else. The sports update's brought to you by Landmark Cinemas and their wonderful rewards program. Get more of what you love with Landmark Rewards. Free movies and concession items, invites to exclusive screenings, special events, and more. There are 3 rewarding programs to choose from. They get you something extra with every movie purchase you make. Check out landmarkcinemas.com to register for free today. I know the clock says we need to go to a break, but just to finish this thought on the way we were raised versus the way things are now. We got somewhere in the middle is probably the way it should be. I don't want to go to school today. Okay, but then you don't get to play. You don't get to go to hockey practice tonight. You don't get to go do this tonight. That was the deal that I had. Do parents still do that? If these, like Alex Petrangelo gets it. Scott Laughlin just talked about it. He's like, well, his family wanted to see him play, but he's physically not able to play. Probably the same thing with these guys, by the way. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, they all just played. Or Lamar Jackson didn't, but you get it. He played the weekend before. They're hurt. So, guys, can you just come one more week? You're making $47 million a year. In the case of those veteran guys, not Jaden Daniels. What hasn't changed is we're all free to make the choices that we want to make, but we're not free of the consequences that come with them.
How about that?
No charge. Free of charge. We'll be right back. I feel like overtime is just going to be raucous. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcast wherever you enjoy your podcast.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Here we go. Overtime is brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. And again, this Friday is their Player Development Day from 9 till 3. Let me guess, there's no school in Calgary this Friday? Calgary and area? Anyways, it's $99. Has lunch and snacks. Giddy up. OvertimeHL.ca. Better yet, DM them. OvertimeHL on Instagram. Or stop in and see him 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Mark in Burlington, Ontario writes, and he says, hey, Rod, Luke Wilson is on today's podcast of 3 Down Nation. Maybe he's a good friend with Bo Levi. Got a sound effect for that, Clark?
How about that?
I don't get it. It does not surprise me. Somebody ran some interference. I don't know who. What I can tell you is I'm getting real tired of. All I know is Luke Wilson came to me and said, when can I get on your show? And then that was the last I heard from him. So somebody got involved. Maybe the 3 Down guys. They seem to be in the middle of everything. Laverne in Swift Current writes in and says, hey, RP, I watched the Flames and Capitals last night. Washington is for real, man. They are fast and play like a team on a mission. By the way, Orange, you glad you wore that shirt? I love it. Thank you, Laverne. Appreciate you. $14 at Walmart. How about that? We will be recording the Cats and Bolts podcast immediately following this program here today, and I'll be wearing this shirt on that program. See, yeah, I appreciate you, Mark, in Burlington, Ontario, telling me about the Luke Wilson going on the 3 Down Nation. Like, somebody got involved, somebody ran interference, and I'm past tired of it. What's interesting is with this Panthers and Lightning show that we do down here, there isn't a whole lot of coverage for the hockey in the NHL down here. There just isn't. And so now we got guys, Doug McLean last week, Jeff Chikrin next week. 81% of our viewers have responded and said, yeah, they want Joe Girardi on the show. He's become a gym buddy of mine, and he lives here in Boca. I love the CFL, but CFL people do really toxic things, and that's what I'm tired of. Regarding Alex Pietrangelo not playing for Canada, it's interesting comments from Tony in Cochrane, Alberta. He says, wearing your country's flag is a privilege and an honor, not an obligation. Suck it up and play, Pietrangelo. Well, Tony, I'm just going to say, using your words, if it's not an obligation, then he doesn't have to go. Right?
Bingo!
But you're also right that it is a privilege and an honor. I think the term in there, because I've heard it used in the past, is it's not an option. But it is an option. And he's exercising his option. So I guess that's the thing, as I close that last segment. He has the right to say, I don't want to play. He's going to miss out on a whole lot of fun. Don't think he has not weighed the pros and cons in his own mind, right? And he's like, I'm going to take the break. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, the Caitlin clock? I know, right? The Caitlin clock says we need to take a break.
How about that?
Wayne in BC says, today's been a fun and informative RP show as always. I don't feel like we informed you of anything, but thanks. Maybe for you. We're just talking about today's topics. Didn't break any news here today. Even if we did, we wouldn't get any credit for it. That's another thing 3 Down does. Takes our scoops, don't give us credit. That's the new thing. The note, you saw that I said I was writing something down here. We were in the Blackhawks alumni suite in Chicago 2 Saturdays ago, and Mike Lee, who might be watching right now, Mydale Mike Lee, was telling Glenn, our host, Chris Chelios was like the featured alum host, but there was the bartender in there and the server, and his name was Glenn. And Mike was trying so hard to explain that we come from Saskatchewan, where Connor Bedard played junior hockey. And the guy was like that look your dog gives you when you're trying to talk to him, and he's trying to understand, but he doesn't understand English. Junior hockey? What? Do we have time, the interest, the energy to explain? It's like college football for your Chicago Bears. It's the next level. Yeah, it's just, I don't know what made me think of that. Again, all of us came from one sort of culture, one sort of area, and you realize there's other areas out there. John in Edmonton writes in, he says, is that why you don't have anybody from 3 Down Nation on your show anymore? I would say, ask them why we don't have anybody on our show anymore. Ask them. Paul in Humboldt writes in, he says, Luke, 1248. I apologize we didn't get to your questions and comments. Rob writes in, he says, what does Scott Laughlin make of the Bruins' inconsistencies this season, and does he see them as sellers at the trade deadline? I apologize, Rob. I didn't see that till after the fact. Anywho, it's been good. See you tomorrow.
How about that?
What do you think it is, a strip club?
Right on.